get the information at a later stage. So in this cohort, I think we're going to have between 8 and 10 new students starting. Typically, because it's an apprenticeship, we would like you to start in the May intake with Heriot Watts University on the master's degree. And if that's not your easiest option, first option, then the second option will be to aim to start in this September, October intake with Heriot Watts. I was saying this to Tim earlier, the difference would be that we would pause your apprenticeship funding that we receive from the government. We would pause your learning, should we say, although it'll have no impact on you at all in terms of my support or anything like that. But we're just saying that you couldn't make the deadlines leading up to the start point, in this case, May, to join the university at that stage. So with that in mind, that's why I say there's some flexibilities as to when we start. Officially, it's today, the 12th of January, of your 3-year apprenticeship, and the end date being this time, 3 years, the 12th of January, 2025. It's a long time, that, but ultimately, there's various reasons, I think, why you'll be on this course, but one of the biggest and most popular reasons is not just going away with a level 7 master's qualification and have that credibility, but also to consider getting chartered membership at IOSH. Now, the Institute of Occupational Safety and Health have been very, I want to be nice here, let's say selective. I'm not saying they're prima donnas or anything like that, but because of the new way of gaining chartered member status, the hoops now that you have to jump in is to have a level 7 qualification in occupational health and safety, as well as that professional interview that will allow you to get that membership status. So that aspect is quite a driver for a lot of the students that we have on the course. You're all employed status, working for a company in some way, shape or form, even if you're self-employed as a health and safety consultant, as I am. It could well be that long-term you're thinking, what am I going to get out of this? And we've already had 4 of our students last year that have moved on, shall we say, from one company to another as a result of embarking on this course, and the realization opportunities obviously stepped in their favor, but they've had to then stop the apprenticeship with one employer and then reinstate with a new employer so it can continue with the apprenticeship. So this is a transferable qualification. Like I say, ultimately, we're looking at the long-term aspect over the 3 years of you, 1, achieving the masters, and 2, hopefully, if that's what you want to do, to go down the route of gaining chartered membership, but also similar to chartered membership of IOSH, there's the professional interview and testing at the end that says you've covered everything in the apprenticeship. So I'm going to talk through that in this section as well to give you an idea. Like I was saying before, at any point, if they've got anything you want to bring up, then please do so and just jump in there. I'll try and answer that question to you straight away. Okay, so hopefully that is now coming up on your screens, and I've jumped a few slides there, so I better go back to the beginning. Can somebody give me the nod? Can you now see that on the screens? Great, thank you. So first of all, a lot of this, because we do have international students, a lot of this relationship that we're going to build will be like as we are now, either on Zoom, or it may be that you prefer to use Teams, and also the support that you'll get with our vLearn, which is our online information source where you can get the library access, you can get information on the other presentations, and you can also upload your evidence around the apprenticeship. So the title there kind of speaks volumes. It's for professionals, and therefore there's the link there to the occupational aspect. risk and safety management requires you to be in a position whereby you're having to resource, manage, interact with people in the area of risk and safety. And it's non-integrated as part of an apprenticeship system. So there's the academic side of it, but then there's the occupational side of it that works together. And some would argue, well, surely that's integration as such. But what we're saying is the two parts to the apprenticeship itself that we have to keep on top of. So as your lead tutor and also program lead, I'm the representative from Compass that will help you through this journey. So there's I'm not going to go through all of this, but this is the typical stuff that we do here at Compass to give you an idea of who we are and our background. So Compass is based in Chorley in the northwest, between Preston and Bolton. For some people, if I just said we're 15 to 20 miles away from Manchester, that's probably the key area that people look at. We do a variety of things. 18 months ago, we started up the occupational health side of our business, whereby we're now using our existing clients that we act as consultants on, and then say we've now seen that link between the regulations, the requirements for occupational health services, and they've set up on site here a kind of like a surgery, for want of a better word. We have access to a doctor. We have 3 occupational health nurses that are here a lot, and also they go out to the businesses to give them the various support on health, screening, checks, and so on. We've been involved in delivery of training for a long time. There used to be a heavy focus on supporting companies in construction, and we've moved from that to then support it with the consultancy arm and also the training in general. We've been involved in NEBOSH, particularly NEBOSH certificate, general certificate, for 8 years, and it's got an excellent award on that in terms of the support given to our students and the high standard on the pass rate. I joined the company doing 3 days a week because I'm a self-employed consultant, so I invoice Compass. And the other couple of days, I have 8 clients that I work with privately in a variety of different fields. One of them is leisure, so it's a gym, spa, and kind of high standard club, similar to, although they would argue, better than David Lloyd's. And also kind of the sweatshop arm of it as well. So you just go in, go to a gym. They've got 8 locations, and it's not really set up for anything other than going to do a good workout. So there's that, and I have links with higher risk environments, like one of my companies is a plastics mixing company in Barry, not far from here. I also link with a couple of warehouse environments and production, because my background is very much engineering, so kind of like look at it from a logical point of view and see how we can provide solutions to that. We also offer ISO at Compass, so I do auditing and support for 3 of our clients who have ISO in the 45,000 as well as 9,000 quality, and also the environmental as well. So in that spread of lists of the things that we offer, you'll see there's a wide variety of quals that we're involved in and consultancy support, but also you'll see on the left-hand side the apprenticeship, whereby we've got the, in your case, the level 7 risk and safety management scheme. Okay, going on from that one, this is just the general blurb, the overview of it, and I'll show you, maybe read into more a little bit than what you perhaps may have thought about in terms of the qualification itself. So it's rounded approach towards professionals and making them capable as a competent person. And the competency is looking at risk and safety in some detail. Now, quite often we have SHE, safety, health and environment, and also SHE-Qs, safety, health, environment, and quality of some of the students that are in there. And there is a little bit of the evidence you can take from quality and from environment, but obviously the key focus of assignments and also the work that you produce will be asking you to prove competence in risk and safety management. So please bear that in mind, but also with this being a level 7 qualification, in your second year at the university, you'll be doing a dissertation. And in that dissertation, we would like you to use that in the final aspect. So down at the bottom there, it says the endpoint assessment. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. So if you can put a project together that looks very, very similar to your dissertation, you might save yourself quite a bit of work in that respect, linking it to your workplace or your chosen environment in which you're doing the dissertation about. So think about that as a longer term issue. Within the apprenticeship itself, rather than you just going on the master's course and getting those 2 years on an academic aspect, there's an effort here focusing on knowledge, skills, and behaviors. And that's quite different to an academic route taken by someone who's given a loan, or they're actually doing it by their own private funding, going through a university to do the masters. So here, because you're an apprenticeship, it's asking more, and it focuses on that knowledge, skills, and behavioral base, and proving, as you would with any vocational qualification, that you have that base on the KS&Bs, as we call it. And you'll see they're transferable across all highly regulated industries. So let's say you were on, I'll use Coma. So let's say you're in a chemical refinery, or let's say you're not, but something about working in that industry is of interest to you. By you getting this qualification, what we're saying is those transferable skills, behaviors, and the knowledge that you have would make you ready to be able to prove your competence if you work in that field, without overly stretching you, because of the learnings and your attitude, and also the way that you've worked through the apprenticeship itself. So there is that aspect. I'm not saying you have to be in a highly regulated industry now. That's not the case. It's just that the level 7 qualification says, if we're giving you this after all your hard work, then there's got to be that transferable aspect of the KS&Bs. So it's the profession and the professional bit that's in the title that jumps out to say, after doing 3 years or 36 months, I can now say, yeah, I'm there, and I can stand in court, as I've done on a couple of occasions. And when that very nice barrister that's acting on behalf of the defendant, who perhaps wants to challenge my competence, or indeed the representative of the health and safety executive that might be in there at the time and working with their barrister and saying, well, what does competence mean to you, and how have you proved competence? I can perhaps stand up comfortably. And I hope that any student that does this course with me will also feel at the end of it that they will, when challenged, they will be able to stand head held high, saying, there's no question here about my competence. I know what I'm doing. Now, a little bit of history about me, perhaps. Before I started here, I did 18 months with Salford University as a teaching fellow on health, safety, and environmental courses. It's the level 7 that the Salford University offered that's equivalent to this. And I guess that's one of the key reasons why Compass have taken me on board, because it allowed me to move from Salford to come to Compass to continue doing 3 days a week. And that was the problem I had with Salford, is that they were employing me for 2.5 days a week, but it wasn't like do all day Monday, all day Tuesday and Wednesday morning, and that's your week done. It was not. It was, can you do Monday afternoon for this semester? And what we're going to do is change it to Thursday afternoon next semester. And then can you keep the same workload that you've got now and add to your students and so on? It just became unsustainable and unmanageable for my diary in order to also offer the services and support for my other clients. So for me, it was a good grounding and I enjoyed my time there. However, it wasn't working for me. So coming to Compass now has allowed me that flexibility and diarising things to do some consultancy work with them, consultancy work on my own, but also to be the lead tutor on this apprenticeship. In the second paragraph there, it says, such professionals typically work in the fields of technical safety, areas of reliability, nuclear, chemical and process safety, etc. Again, it doesn't matter if you're not in those areas. All I will say, it's going to be easier for you to prove competence when you're working in those fields. And therefore, don't make it a barrier for yourself, or don't trip yourselves up. There's variations on a theme on this. It's just that that's the typical student route. At the end of this 3-year transfer and travel around journey we're having together, there is an endpoint assessment. So it's similar to what I was saying before about the IOS route of proving your competence, but in a way whereby the NOCN, who are the endpoint assessors, they're only interested in making sure that you have good quality training and learning with ourselves. They want to know that you've transferable skills in those knowledge, skills and behaviors. And that's where they focus on, is checking that. And within that, the project that they're going to ask you to do will focus on your knowledge, skills and behaviors, rather than the academic side of producing a dissertation for a university course. So hence there's that professional link there. So that's what I'm saying there in terms of the last bit. Now, the very last sentence, it's a level 6 and 7 qualification. We're only funded for you on the level 7 from the government. So I'd rather you focus down that route. What we've done with a few students is the opportunity to say that it just didn't work. Halfway through your course, you had to, whatever the reason was, you had to stop the apprenticeship. But we'd like to be able to offer the fact that with everything that you've done for us and for the university, surely there's enough evidence there to get you a level 6 qualification. So where we need to, we'll spend that time making sure that you've got the support to at least get through the level 6. And as much as that's not going to get you the MSc and it's not going to get you the IOS membership that perhaps you want to, at least you'll end up with a recognized qualification. So within this, now, please bear in mind, you don't need this as a prerequisite to do the masters. Okay, it's just that link to us offering you a little bit more if the overall MSc itself is too far and you can't achieve that. What we can then do is stop the apprenticeship and give you the guidance on getting level 6. However, at the beginning, when we first ran this, the qualification and in order for you to be able to jump to the level 7, you have to have a level 6. And at the time, they said it had to be a level 6 qualification in occupational health and safety. They've relaxed that now and said you can have a level 5 or a level 6 qualification in any discipline. But if you've got that and you're a professional working in occupational health and safety and you're thinking about working towards the MSc, then we'll accept you. But the added thing that they've now asked for are the 3 modules that I'm going to talk about later that you will do as a prerequisite before you can officially sign up with the university. Okay, so quite a few students have asked me questions around that. And what I'm saying is, if you've not got a level 6 qualification at the moment, it might not matter. You may have a level 5 qualification in any discipline, or even a level 6 in any discipline. And as a result of that, we can look at that, and I'll talk to you in your initial assessments later on to try and find out whether that's what best suits you and whether we need to do perhaps some development beforehand in order to get you through that before you move on to the master's course itself. Now, one thing I learned from working at Salford University is some people on the course were, is it insulting to say, woefully short of being competent, and quite a few of my students having got the masters, have still kept relationships up with me and are still phoning me or texting me or emailing me saying, Graham, I've had this issue at work. What can you advise? What's the best way to approach this? And for me, that's quite a difference to going on an academic course and learning to do the requirements of assignments and learning to put a dissertation together. It's short in many areas of actual competence in the workplace and showing your experience. And I think that's a key area that I certainly will help you. If you've not had that experience or that exposure, but you need it or want it, then I think by the end of the 3 years, you will definitely have that over and above just doing the academic route. So please bear that in mind. That's my personal opinion, but I do strongly say I've seen this whereby even though they've got a master's qualification, they've then, it's a bit like your driving test, you know, you've got the qualification behind you, but you only start to drive and you only start to really learn how to drive after you've got your license. And many people have said that to me in a similar vein around having achieved either a degree or a master's degree. It's then where they've had the exposure and the experience in the workplace that's given that full rounded, grounded approach to being a professional or a manager or an advisor or a consultant in the field of occupational health and safety practice. So all I'm saying on that slide is that there's 2 routes for doing the level 6. You've got the MVQ route or you've got NEBOSH as the 2 most common accepted qualifications. If it's not for you, it's not for you. It doesn't really matter. But like I say, if somewhere along the line we can't do the apprenticeship with you, you might then consider doing this as an alternative. Okay, moving on then, as is the case with distance learning and online learning courses, which again, the majority of this is the same for you guys. Compass are offering support and information that's online. It used to be a platform called MyQual. And what we've done is we've come away from MyQual. We're using the Endpoint Assessor's own platform, and it's called vLearn. And because NOCN know that this works for the apprenticeship schemes that they are working with, it allows our students to upload information, let's say in a standardized way, so that they'll do work with Compass. And when we see information that Compass students have put together, they might be working with another training provider and it'll look very, very similar because it's using NOCN's platform. So it's easier for them to be able to find a way around. So we've moved from our own MyQual, which we designed ourselves, and we're now using what's known as vLearn as our support mechanism and platform for online learning and for you to upload information that shows your competence. So when I was talking about knowledge, skills and behaviors before, there's aspects around that in that. I've got a short session after this presentation on the vLearn, how you access it. If you've not already had your username and password given to you, then it literally is, we've already put you on the system. So with your own email, you can go on and start, and then having started with that, it'll say, forget password. How many times have you seen that when you've been involved? And then what you'll do is you put information in again. And as a result of reintroducing that new password, you've then got access with your own password. And so it goes on. So I've got a short 5 slides on the vLearn system later. But nevertheless, you'll have information that's available to you on the qualification, but also your ability to be able to upload your assignments, upload information on knowledge, skills and behaviors so that we can mark, assess, check, do progress reports throughout the 3 years, and all the information will be there. So that, and this is independent of the university, but ultimately it's so that we're constantly in touch with you and just checking throughout the 3 years that you're on target, you're going in the right direction towards completion, and then where we need to give you further support, there's that opportunity to help out that way. So that's kind of the V-Learn. Bear in mind what I said before. I've got a short presentation I'm going to do after this around the system. So we have a collaborative partnership with Heriot-Watt University, and that allows us to enroll on your behalf to start the qualification. After doing the 3 modules, we'll be asking you to do a personal statement, and we need also an up-to-date CV, curriculum vitae, to be able to then pass on to Heriot-Watts. But the key thing is the 3 modules that we'll be focusing on. And the first question they will say is, have your students completed the 3 modules? Once the answer is yes to that, they will then say, right, with receiving of the application form, and they mention that Compass are involved in this and that you're on the 3-year apprenticeship, they will then allow you in as a student with Heriot-Watts on the 2-year course. But please bear in mind that if you can't meet some of the deadlines because of mitigating circumstances, it might expand a little bit. But ultimately for us, we've only got a 3-year window where funding is available. And if we have to stop and start, we can still claim in that period, but we'll have to be careful as to how we stop and start that 3-year support, should we say, throughout. So bear that in mind. I'm your personal tutor and I'll support you on that from Compass's side. Over and above that, when you're working with Heriot-Watts, they will also have a lead tutor, a program lead, and a personal tutor they will allocate to you. So try and keep the 2 separate. And what I'm saying there is, if there is an issue that you can't get resolved with Heriot-Watts University, perhaps with my experience, I can put you back on track and give you an idea as what to do and how to do it so that it resolves that problem, or it helps you to move forward with a clearer understanding of the requirements. So, and as it says there, support throughout the 3 years, both online and personal tutoring, and we will aim to work towards the masters and achieving the endpoint assessment. And those are the 2 of the key goals, aims and objectives that Compass have with you, is to get you through your masters, but also to get you through the endpoint assessment interview, professional interview at the end. So I mentioned before the slight changes. It used to be that you had to have a level 6 qualification in health and safety, but now it's any discipline at 5 or 6. But the new requirement is to have these 3 modules in risk management. The 3 modules are human factors, learning from disasters, and risk and safety management. So those are the 3 modules that we do as a prerequisite to then say you are ready to transfer onto the level 7 masters in safety and risk management. Over and above that, it helps us from the apprenticeship point of view, the fact that you are working in a risk and safety management role, typically at high risk level, but it doesn't have to be totally, should we say, in those environments. There are variations on it. So we'll deliver the 3 modules. I should say, I will deliver the 3 modules. And this is part of our memorandum of agreement, our collaborative understanding with Heriot-Watts University, in order to then say, I know that these students have passed the 3 modules. As a result of that, they are ready to go on to do the course itself. My plan, as I've done with the other cohorts that we've put through onto the courses, is to have a monthly approach to this, give you a month to do human factors, give you a month to do learning from disasters, and give you a month to do risk management, with assignments at the end that check your knowledge understanding of the subject area. So there's 15 hours of learning, there's 15 hours of reading and research, and then there's an assessment at the end to check your knowledge and understanding. So that's the assignments. I'm going to use the same assignments that I did for the last cohort. So I already know what the questions are going to be asked. I've already marked previously, so I know the standard, and therefore, as a result of that, I perhaps got better guidance and support that I can give to you to point you in the right direction to make sure we stay on track. Now, as is the case with universities, if you can get in front of yourself, so let's say when you're at the university, you've given an assignment and the deadline was September the 20th, they might say to you that on the 1st of September, what we'll do is allow you to do a draft. And if you present a draft within, say, the time period of between the 1st and the 18th, so two to 3 weeks in total, if you can provide that as a draft format, we will give you feedback, and then your final draft becomes your assignment itself. So what we're saying is we'll allow you the opportunity to do a bit of practice and get feedback on where you may have missed some points, some valuable marks. And as a result of that, you can then put it forward as your official final attempt. And that's typically what happens in universities. We're adopting a more relaxed approach to that. I'm not saying you can only produce one draft. What I'm saying is have a go. If you've got the chance to have a go and I can give you feedback and then you represent it to me and I give you a little bit more feedback, then you should then be right on track. The reason for that is this is our prerequisite to get you into the university. So we don't want you to fail, but at the same time, we want you to be ready to do university work in line with university standards. So use this as an opportunity for direction and remolding and like, right, you're using too many words here, or you need more references here, or there's a particular way of writing that sentence and you've completely missed the point. So Graham comes along and gives you that informal feedback, and before you know it, you're at an academic standard ready to do master's work. And that's the only reason we're doing this. It's very much relaxed. And as I was saying to Tim before, as much as I would say there's a deadline for first assignment from human factors to be done by this time in a month, and then the second one, learning from disasters, is this time in 2 months. But ultimately, I want all 3 modules to be completed at the end of 3 months. Yeah, so what's that? 12th of April, is that right? January, February, March. Yeah, 12th of April, I need to be marking all 3 assignments completed and giving you feedback, so that if you do have the opportunity to start in May, then all I'm then saying after that is, right, do your personal statement, do your updated CV. We'll say to the university, you've passed these areas, and then we'll send the documentation that shows that, and then therefore you are ready to start the qualification at master's level. So that's what I'm saying at the bottom there. The modules have to be done by that point so that we can comfortably get you ready to start. And I hope we can start in May. If that becomes too much for you, then we'll start you in September instead. So bear that in mind. That's the only flexibility I've got. I can't pass you on then to January of next year because there's no way of hitting the 3-year apprenticeship deadline. Because you've only got 2 years to do your masters, and then having done that, there's a little bit of leeway at the front and a lot of leeway at the back for you to do your endpoint assessment. So it's, you've done your dissertation, you've got your masters, you're going to do a project, and then having done the project, you have to do a professional interview in front of NOCN to be able to then say, I am professional, I am competent in this area, I am working at level 7. And they will then rubber stamp it and then say, end of apprenticeship. So hence, there's a little bit more than just doing your bit with us for the 3 modules and then do the academic bit with Eric Watts for 2 years. Over and above that, we've got the project and the final interview. And hence, I need to keep that relationship with you throughout. And when you, let's say, I don't know, I'm not saying a couple of months time, let's say you started in May and July, you're coming to a deadline with the university and you've got an assignment, perhaps you'll send me a copy of that assignment and I'll give you informal feedback on it so that you can then see that I'm building that relationship between us over that 3-year period in an unofficial manner. But like I say, my key goal is to get you beyond the MSc, and after that, prepare you for the endpoint assessment so that we ultimately get the money, we get the funding. And a lot of that, 40% of it is held back at the end. So we need you to succeed, and therefore I'll go out of my way to help you to get to that position. I guess I've covered this in many areas, but you'll see typically how a university works by looking at the bit at the bottom. Yeah, so the course aims to provide students with advanced knowledge of risk assessment techniques and more, and typically it focuses on practical application, so safety methodologies, ergonomics, human factors, safety risk, etc. It's a typical risk and safety management master's course. I would suggest to you, over and above reading that after, perhaps you'll go on to Harriet Watt's website, have a look at their 2-year master's course, get familiar with it so that when you do start with them, you're prepared. However, the focus for us is the 3 modules to get you ready for perhaps May, or indeed in September if you can't get ready for May. Now, in the first year at Harriet Watts, they will focus on typical professional aspects of risk and safety management. What we're saying there is we can't ask you to do a dissertation without front loading and giving you the theory in the typical areas first in order to do the dissertation. So the list, the bullet point list you'll see on the left-hand side there are some of the typical headlines that they'll tend to cover. Now you'll see it's more than just health and safety or risk and safety management. There are aspects like postgraduate scholarship skills. What else we've got? Professional practice. And over and above that, there's academic skills that you need to pick up. How to write a dissertation, how to do referencing, how to avoid plagiarism, what the requirements are of assessments and how assignments are marked. You know, so there's little bits of modules and various topics that focus on general aspects of academia in order to prepare you for the dissertation. So when you have to do the dissertation, it pulls that together in terms of the module aims. It covers that discipline of risk and safety management, and you decide a particular area that's interesting to you. And I would please say to you, pick something that you have a lot of motivation towards, something that makes you interested and something that you've wanted to learn more about for a long period of time. Got to choose something that you're involved in, because you have to do this over a 12-month period to produce that dissertation. And if it's something that you're just saying, oh, I'll just choose that, you might quickly lose interest. So please bear that in mind. The preparation and the professional side of it, the risk and safety management, is done in year 1, along with the academic skills. And then year 2 focuses on the production of a dissertation. Now, some people are quite fortunate, and if they've done a master's before, they might say a dissertation, I could probably do it in a few weeks or 3 months. Great, good luck to you in that respect. I would say you need at least 6 months in order to do some of the forward research, in order to do a lot of the reading that's necessary, in order to send out the survey and get detailed information back from your candidates that have been involved in it, a decent size of people that are involved in that research. So let's say you work for a company and the company has 500 employees. I would expect, as an academic, I would expect 10% of those people to be involved in your research before I would consider it credible for that company alone. So if that's 10%, that's 50 people of 500. Yeah, and what you've then got to do is collate all that information, get your head around it, and then put something together that's meaningful, because you've learned from that, and then you've got to expand it further within the industry that you work. So rather than personalize it just to the company that you work for, you then say, well, how do we fare in the industry that we're working in? So you put the feelers out to the industry, some of your competitors, some of the groups that work together in that area, to then say, oh, well, I regularly go to the meeting with our competitors, our industry standards where it's set. And these are the key concerns that comes about from that. So the wider, you kind of got the micro and the macro working together. You've got the focus on you and your company, and then you've got the wider field as well in terms of what you're trying to draw out of it. Some students choose not to do that. Some people will do their dissertation on a country whereby risk and safety management is the problem in that country. And as a result of that, they'll pull that together. But then I would say, how will that project then link you to your professional interview at the end? So be clever in what you choose. Think about the links between you and your profession, and therefore it will save you some work at the end of the dissertation to do that final project to then make it part of the endpoint assessment. So that leads me nicely on to this. The apprenticeship will be assessed over and above your academic side on the knowledge, skills and behaviours. So that's where we come in and give you that support on that. It'll be part of your assessment plan. Apprentices need to complete 20% off the job training due to this programme. Now, what we'd like to have is a commitment from your employer that will allow you to give typically 1 day a week where you can put it aside just to focus on the development that you need to get you through. Now, once you start with the university, you will definitely need that day a week, if not more, to do your academic research and keep on top of the assignments. Because let's say you're doing 6 modules at the same time over an academic period of 6 months, the deadlines will all start to come at the same time. So if you start in May, it's probably going to be August when all these deadlines are coming up for 6 modules, and therefore the evidence that you produce then is going to be hard. So that's why we're saying you need at least 1 day a week whereby you can focus on the program itself, the learning that's necessary. For us, we'd like you also to do the bits and pieces on the knowledge, skills and behaviours. So in between those academic deadlines, let's say it may be the Easter period, it may be the back end of the Christmas period, it may be when you've done the deadlines in May, the summer period before you have to start again in September. They tend to be the quiet periods for the academic work. That means that Compass can then help you with the knowledge, skills and behavioural aspects to keep the evidence coming in, being uploaded onto vLearn, and then doing the extras to make sure that when it does come to the end of it, you've covered the requirements. So in order to have that support, what we'd like you to do is keep a diary and keep uploading that onto vLearn to say, this week I've spent time working on my apprenticeship doing, and then you'll put that forward as to what you've done in that week. Hence, when it comes to us doing progress reviews and regular, typically 6 weekly updates, we'll be saying everything seems to be on track, or this student is suffering because of, and perhaps more support is needed to help them through. Yeah, so please bear that in mind, that we're there, we're pushing you in a friendly way in the right directions, because we appreciate the life. If you think about what COVID's done to us in the last couple of years and the impact that that's had on us, that in itself is as a classic example as whereby things have happened in home life and personal life that have preventing you from being able to hit deadlines or do certain objectives to say they are complete. So we can only work with you if we know about it. And therefore, if you're not getting your company to allow you to have that 1 day a week, then what we don't want you to be doing is burning the candle at both ends, and then spending all your weekend or using up all your holidays or your annual leave to be able to keep on top of these things. Hence, that's why the apprenticeship believe it's important that you have the support from your company. Now, the gateway requirements means that it has to be an endpoint assessor. So that's been set, and we're using NOCN. There's about 4 other endpoint assessors, but in order to make sure that happens, there's where the focus is on the knowledge, skills and behaviours and the apprenticeship standards that have to show that you've proved it over and above doing your bit for your level 7 with the university. So the apprentice must also achieve the qualification and the relevant maths and English. Now, the government set this in place how long have I been involved in apprenticeships? I'd say 25 years ago now. They took it as the opportunity. Even if you were doing a level 3 or level 4 qualification, what the government standard was to say that everybody should have at least a level 2 in maths and English. So as part of our initial assessment, we have to ask you, and you can tell us what qualifications you've got. And over and above that, we'll arrange for you to have, if you've not got a level 2 qualification in maths and English, we'll give you that opportunity, because it's part of the government's initiative to be able to say that people working at level 3 and above in vocational qualifications, they've also achieved maths and English at level 2. Right. So what we'll do is set up that support, if needed, on a level 2 maths and English. So we have someone here that can be dedicated to that, but also my wife, as an example, she did a level 7 in CIPD, Chartered Institute of Personal Development, so human resources. And when she started on her apprenticeship 5 years ago, that came up, and she ended up, because she hadn't got a GCSE or a CSE or an O level in maths. So at the time, she went to a local college, and she did 8 weeks at the local college, 1 day a week, and also online learning. And in the classes, she learned to do some of the math skills, working with the formulas, and putting the answers together. It was awful for her, it really was. But at the end of it, she got the level 2 qualification, and it's recognized as equivalent to. And that meant that she was never good at maths when she went to school, and she switched off to it. But because they had the opportunity in a different environment, where it wasn't kids in a school environment, she thrived on it a little bit, and she put behind her learning issues in a classroom and moved on from that, and ended up with not just a level 7 in HR, but also a level 2 qualifications in maths that she thought she would never have. So there's kind of like two sides to it. It's a requirement that we have to jump through that with the government. Therefore, we have to ask you at the beginning, are there any qualifications that you're falling short in maths or in English, and we'll help you through that to make sure there's support at the end. So that's part of the other criteria over and above. So keep on top of your portfolio, should we say, that's online on vLearn. Keep up to date with that, show evidence of the knowledge, skills and behaviors, and then at the end of it, prepare yourselves for an interview, professional interview, to cover the endpoint assessment, along with the project that we asked to do, which hopefully is going to be a dissertation, and I'll say plus, the dissertation plus, a little bit more specific to your workplace. So it says there, a case study and presentations. That's what I'm saying there in the endpoint assessment. Yeah, it's the final stage. It's the final thing that gives that rubber stamp to say you've achieved the apprenticeship. So there it gives you an overview. The case study project demonstrates the practical application of the knowledge, skills and behaviors that the apprentice has developed over those 3 years of the apprenticeship. The case study project is designed to present realistic, complex and contextually rich situations that can demonstrate the apprentice's knowledge, skills and behaviors. So this is why I say be clever in choosing what you're going to use as your subject area for your dissertation, because if you do your dissertation, then focus a little bit on how it can be occupationally linked with you in your workplace. Having done the dissertation, it makes this case study project very easy as the final bit. The Viva Voce, a standard for academia, they've taken that approach for the workplace, and in this case, the endpoint assessment. So what they're saying is that's the professional discussion that's done with a panel of typically 3 people, and they're there to check that, one, you are who you are, and you're on this apprenticeship in a genuine format. 2, that you've received the adequate support from me and from Compass to help you through the qualification. The focus then on the knowledge, skills and behaviors, and then making sure that there's a link to you being competent in your workplace and the opportunity to have those transferable skills needed if you're working in a high-risk environment. So those are the focus that they have on the questions. Now, as you'll see from the appendix that's mentioned in both of those, there's an overview of what endpoint assessment is, and I'll send that to you so you've got a copy of that. I guess at the moment you don't need to worry too much. Just at the back of your mind, think about the knowledge, skills and behaviours that need to be thought about on a progressive base throughout the apprenticeship itself, and then long term put it back into your diary and concerns and priorities early 2025 to think about preparing for that endpoint assessment, Viva professional discussion, and also the project. Okay, so that's the end of that presentation. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, issues you want to raise at this point? Before I go on then to talk about the vLearn, short presentation on that, and then my other objective, two objectives I've got today. I've got to do your initial assessments. So I'm going to organise after this afternoon, should we say, diarise half an hour with each person to then complete the initial assessments. And over and above that, we've got online learning on the human factors, which is module 1. So you can start that straight away. So any questions, concerns or issues you want to raise at this point?
You said we should have had a password and stuff sent out for this vLearn.
Yeah.
Is that coming, or is it already supposed to have been in?
I believe it's already been sent to you. You're certainly set up on the system already. If you've not received it, as having watched this presentation on vLearn, if you follow the steps that I mentioned earlier, it's literally put your email in, it will recognize you as a user, but obviously you won't have the password. So what you then do is look on it and but forgot password. So you click onto that, it sends you another link, you put your information in again, and then you set your own password and off you go. Cool. So it's not too much of a hiccup, should we say, in terms of stopping you from getting on. But I'm your contact. If you do have problems getting onto vLearn, email me or phone me up or text me, and I'll put it as a priority and get you on there somehow if you're not already logged on. Cool. Okay. Right, I'll share the other presentation. Just a quick check, is it up there? Yeah, getting the nods, thank you. Okay, just jump in if it's not showing, because sometimes on Zoom we do lose that link and it doesn't move on as such. So the apprenticeship setup, should we say, on vLearn through Compass. What we said was, as I mentioned earlier, is that we're going to use what NOCN have in place. After this, I will send you an email that has the link. And as a result of getting that link, you can start to register. And that's if you've not already received it, because I do know that 2 people are already on this anyway, but nevertheless, when you do get into the registration and you're enrolled, it will come up with the slide on the left-hand side there, it gives you that information, very basic information about you. And then you click on the link at the bottom and it moves you on to that second slide that you can see on the right-hand side there. Once you're on the second slide, you need to then find your qualification. So look for risk and safety management. So I think it's titled Apprenticeship Risk and Safety Management. Once you see that in the list, click onto the list, as you can see from that. Again, in terms of after this presentation, I'm going to send you PDF copies of everything that you've seen this morning. So you've got information, and I'll be sending that via email, so that one way or the other, you're going to get everything that you need, and you'll be able to enroll, become part of this vLearn. Now, for the first time that you click on and become enrolled, should we say, and you found your program, as soon as you do that, it comes up with little captions that are part of the tutorial. And the tutorial is to help you guide your way through the various icons, the little click points that you do. So it's just the basic information of how to use vLearn. Okay, so it will help you get on and get set up. Going back to what we were saying before, in the first case, you will enter the basic information. And as a result of that, as you'll see at point number 3 there, it will even ask you to create a password. So if you've not already received the email, it doesn't matter. I'm sending it you anyway. Once you're on, I've already got you enrolled anyway. It just means that you can open that up and then move on once you've got your passwords in place. Typically how it would look, once you are enrolled, it will show you programs that you're involved in. And for you, it'll just be the Apprenticeship Risk and Safety Management. It gives you that overview. It also shows you other people that are on in your cohort, so you can link and set up chats and discussions with your fellow students. You perhaps can see on the right-hand side the NOCN. There are endpoint assessors. There's a little bit of information on them as a company. And like I was saying before, it's our opportunity to keep uploading information on a regular basis. That means that you are working through the apprenticeship rather than just attending the university. So little bits and pieces that happen around that focus on the knowledge, skills, and the behavior side of evidence that's needed. There's links, there's points of contact, there's news feeds, as you would expect from a typical learning platform. Okay, so what I would say is there's other bits that quite often apprentices ignore, but there might be some useful information and updates, particularly around knowledge, skills, and behaviors. So using those links you might find helpful. But the way it's designed, it looks very much like a compass document, but bear in mind it is NOCN that have designed this platform. So over and above that is the aspect of Compass. There's my email. There's a support group, should I say, vlearn@olivegroup.io. So that's an international support service that's over and above NOCN. It's the company that have done the software behind this vLearn platform. And if there's any technical issues, they can help us out. So what I would say is come to me first. If I can't sort it out, I might even do that bit for you, getting directly in touch with vLearn. And if you're not getting it speedily enough from me, because maybe I'm teaching or training or I'm doing some consultancy work at the time and you need it sorted straight away, then perhaps using the vLearn online system, you might get a quick resolve there from a technical specialist who can give you the results quicker. All right, so there's more than one way of skinning a cat, as we would say, to get where we need to be. Okay, so typically it's people not being able to access their account. The usual links, the usual username and password issues. Sometimes we say, have you tried rebooting it? And so on and so forth. So there's the technical support you'll get from vLearn. If I can't sort it out for you, maybe it's an administration issue at our end, and we've not allowed you to give you access to the various modules. All right, so it could be I just go on as the tutor and say give access to. So there's that aspect of using the vLearn system. That's all I've got on that as such. But like I say, I'll send you the various information. We've got a 34-page document that helps you to get an understanding of how to use the vLearn. Hopefully, once you've got username and password sorted out and you're logged on and you have that tutorial to tell you what to do and where to go, hopefully that will hit the majority of technical issues. He says, cross-fingered, and that way if there's any issues, come back to me afterwards and we'll sort it out. So that's it. The only other two objectives I have for today is to organize initial assessments where I need to program each of you in for half an hour on a one-to-one. So what I'm going to do is keep Zoom open, but I'll ask people to drop off and then come back in at the various times that you're available. So there's that side to make sure the initial assessment is done. And then I want to introduce you to the human factors module 1. So I want to also cover that aspect as well. So those are my two remaining objectives for this session. So I'll jump straight to now, human factors. And then at the end of this, let's have a chat as to when you can spend half an hour with me doing your initial assessments later. So let's see if I've got it up. Yeah, I've got it there. Okay, so you will get this typically for each of the modules. And in that, what I'll do is I'll talk you through the process as such. So there's the title and the overview of this particular section. HSG 48 is a key area that we'll be looking at around the learning of this, but there's more than that. There's more reading, there's more information. And on our vLearn platform, I'll have uploaded all of that and you'll be able to access it that way. But as a backup, I'm also going to send you copies via emails, so you have that. Now, some of the PowerPoint presentations that I've video recorded, it's not capable of going on the vLearn platform. So what I've done is I've put them on YouTube in my own private section of YouTube, and then I'll give you the links to then access Human Factors Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3, which are recorded. And then similarly, as you'll see from week 3, we've got the citation and referencing, and then an overview of the requirements of the assignment itself. Okay, so in a nutshell, there are 3 recorded videos that I want you to watch that will give you a greater understanding of human factors. Having had that learning and watching my videos and listening to me talk for a few hours, then go back to what you saw before. There's 15 learning hours on the human factors itself. Then there's 15 hours that you're supposed to do in terms of research. And then having done that, there's 3 to 5 hours that's expected for you to complete the assignment. Now, quite often it takes people a lot longer than 3 to 5 hours to answer the questions around the assignment itself. Now, if you look on part 4 there, down at the bottom, you'll see that if you read through that bit, this will be available from next week. Yeah, so I'm going to issue the assignment next week. And even though I've got in week 3 on the 26th, I've planned in for you to watch the video around the brief, around what you need to do for the assignment. It will be available actually next week anyway. So if you need to upload or front load and get ahead of yourself and you want to do the learning, as of today, you'll have access to Human Factors Part 1, and you can start there, but I'm probably going to issue you with Part 2 and potentially Part 3, so you can just keep going and going, so you've got all of the information by the 19th. So by the 19th, rather than me just spoon feeding you bits and pieces, you'll have the 3 parts on human factors. You will have the video on citation and referencing. You will have the video on the assignment brief itself. You'll have a copy of the assignment brief. You'll have the further reading that I want you to do by next week. So you'll have all of that information that will be accessible on vLearn. But because I appreciate there will be problems for people accessing vLearn, you'll also have the links to the YouTube. You'll also have the downloaded information via email that I feel you need over and above this to give you that further reading. And all I'm saying there is I don't have the confidence as yet in vLearn for everybody. So what I do is email it out to people, or I give you the links in the emails to then show you where to find it on YouTube or the HSC website for HSG 48, etc., etc. So you'll always have everything that you need, even if it's duplicated on vLearn. You'll have everything you need for this module and the other two modules next month and the month after for the learning from disasters and from risk and safety management in the final module there. Now, my plan is hopefully you'll have this unofficial deadline of the 9th of February, where I'd like you to hand in your assignment. And like I was saying, if you do manage to get ahead of yourselves and you can perhaps give me a draft before that date, then I can unofficially mark it. But once I feel that you've already met a pass standard, I will then say, can we now accept this as your final version? Or you might then come back to me, Graham, I just want to tweak it a little bit, maybe give me an extra 5%. So I'm not going to give you this as my final assignment. So there's that interaction that's needed between us to be able to say, Luke, you've got a lot on. The 9th of February is beyond the start of the next module. So the next module should start on the 2nd of February or thereabouts. So I'll be giving another workshop. We'll be having a get together and I'll be setting the standard for module 2 on learning from disasters. So try if you can to keep to this. However, please bear in mind what I said before. Ultimately, I want you to have completed all 3 modules by April, so that when you come to sign up with Harriet Watts in May, I can confidently say you have passed all 3 modules. So these are very much unofficial deadlines, but it will keep you on track if you can try and say the 9th of February, the 9th of March, the 9th of April. And I'm only saying that because I've got 9th in my head. I'm not saying those are the deadlines, but just try and do it on a monthly basis so that 1, you've had the learning, the recordings. 2, you've had the opportunity to do the further reading and the research. And then 3, you will work on the assignments as such and then produce that by those deadlines. But if you can't, you can't. We'll work together, we'll have a chat about it, and when we'll reevaluate those deadlines and what needs to be in. It's very much unofficial in that respect, but ultimately my key aim is to prepare you for academic writing when you work with the university, so it's not a complete shock. Some of you may have done masters before with other universities, or even with Harriet Watts. I don't know at this stage. I'll know by the end of doing the initial assessments today.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Of course you can, yeah.
In terms of the pre-reading that we have to do, is your expectation that we'll be making copious notes, or is that just down to the individual how they want to take in the information?
Yeah, it's you as an individual. Yeah, okay. You have your own learning style, so do what you feel you need to do to best keep notes. So, for example, you might be watching part 2 of the human factors on the video, and you might jot down some notes. And at the side of it, you'll have a copy perhaps of the assignment. And then you'll say, oh, there you go. That's answer to question 2 from the recording. And you'll highlight that. And then you'll do further reading after you've watched the rest of the recording. So it could just be a bullet point that's giving you, I need to come back to that, having watched the video. And then I'll do more notes, more research around that topic area, so that when it comes to referencing that, I've got a good understanding of what's needed.
But we won't get the question until we've started doing our until we start looking at the videos. We'll get the.
Well, the question, I'll put it to you. Do you want it straight away? I'm happy to give it to you straight away, but as you'll see in week 2, I tend to give it out in week 2, so it gives you the chance to start looking at videos 1 and 2. But yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, Alison, there. If you, as I've just said, if you see in video 2 oh, there's the answer to question 1 because you've got it in front of you, that might give you more focus. So I'm happy to do that. I'm just thinking of my timing. By the time I've finished all the assessments with you today, I might have an hour at the end of it before finishing at 5 o'clock. If I'm fortunate to have that hour, then you'll get all of this information sent to you via email. And that will include the assignment. So I guess that answers your question really.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that, but this is another document you're going to receive via email later today, that will show us that you've got everything and all the documentation you need to start doing your learning on that module. Just going to get the pad out, make a note. Excuse me a second. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Immediately after this, I'm going to send you the initial assessment. So let's bring one up. You can prepare for what we're going to be covering.
Graham, I don't think I can hear you actually.
Sorry, I'm not speaking at the moment.
Oh, sorry, because I don't have a perfect connection here, so I thought that. Okay, apologies.
Okay. What I'm doing is I'm just taking an example and taking out the name of the person, so that when we fill in the form later, you can see typically what we'll be looking for. So I'll just share that document now. So share. So I've just taken out the student's name there from the top. Everything else needs to be filled in. I might need slightly longer than half an hour because sometimes I go off on one and start talking to people as such. But it may well be that if you want to, if I email this to you now, you might start populating some of that information on our behalf if you're not the first person to be done, should we say. Now, typically we ask our students to produce a presentation, and that PowerPoint presentation allows answering of these questions as such. You've not been afforded that opportunity, should we say. Some of you might have done it, but we'll find out in the initial assessment itself. It's standard questions around risk and safety management and you and your job. So if you can imagine these areas, like that one there might be blank at the time, I'll ask you this question: how do you do your risk assessments, either in your current company or a previous company or another role? And you'll give me a quick overview of what that is, and while you're talking about it, I'll be typing away and putting the information in. I don't need answers on everything, as you'll see here with this example. Once I've got an understanding of who you are and what you do, then I just choose then to say, oh, that's already covered. I don't need to ask the question again. So as you can see there, what I do like to ask is, have you had a really significant career challenge? And as a result of that, what did you get out of it? And that's a great discussion point. So I quite often ask that question. But as a result of that, because of the detail that comes out in the answer, again, I might not need to have the answers to the other areas as such. I'm always interested in your goals. You know, how is this going to work with you? What do you see yourself doing after the 3 years? This particular candidate is one person that's no longer on the apprenticeship anymore, because he got a job after, I think, 4 months. He started this course, and 4 months later, he was offered a job, and he's gone working internationally now in Dubai. And they just liked him as a person, and he just said, I don't need to do the masters anymore, and I'm therefore dropping off on the course. But you could probably see from his goals that were at the time, he saw himself in a possibility where he can move up the ladder within the company. Such, he wasn't too bothered about getting IOSH corporate membership, but we did discuss that at some point. And like I say, you can see from some of the questions I have quite a bit of detail in there, and in others there's no answer at all, because I feel we've covered it. Now, the bit at the end is my judgment, should we say. The first question is functional skills assessment required? So I will ask you, have you got a level 2 qualification in maths and English? If the answer is yes, then I do not need to give you further functional skills training. So I'll put no in there. Secondly, bearing in mind that you might have been doing the job for years and years, and we've talked about the fact that you've got a lot of experience and maybe you want to develop there and use that, then I might put in that section that we accept and understand your prior learning, and therefore feel that you're already in the position to move forward. Sorry, just realised my breach of confidentiality there. I'll just take Jason's name out. Are there any special considerations to be made? As you can see here, he suffers with dyslexia, so we had a long chat about that, and then we set up something that he could work with one of our tutors to help give him the tools and techniques to be able to, for example, he used shaded acetate. It was a green shade of acetate that when you lay that on top of a document, it helped him to be able to see the words better, because quite often with people who have dyslexia, words mingle one into the next. So where I can see which requires extra and the gap between the two, for quite a lot of people, that will be all one long jumble of letters, and it doesn't have any meaning. Now, if you think about it, if we're having to rely on you doing a lot of reading and research and you have dyslexia, it's going to be very hard for you to be able to spend time doing that. And there are a lot of apps, for example, reading apps, where you can place your phone in front of it and you can go down the documentation and it will then pick it up and dictate that information to you. There's, I think it's Dragon, I think it's called, that you can download onto your word processor. And again, when you hover over with your cursor, when you hover over that document, it starts to read it out. So again, there are tools and techniques that can be used for people who suffer. So in this case, where we were notified that he had dyslexia, we can organize for him to get that information, tools, equipment onto his system, and then help him with the learning process, which is typical of degree and master's degree courses, whereby ultimately we want you to get through the course, and having these obstacles in your way should not be a big major obstacle. It should be supportive and inclusive. So it's just that opportunity to talk about that. And then my comments at the end is something I put in that then say, right, you're on the course, we're now moving forward. There's no key issues or concerns, or there are, and we're working on them in that respect. And you see there in the end, the last sentence, he's quiet, a talker, and will need support when writing this. So he's quite a talker and will need support when writing assignments. So one question we discussed is, do you have the latest version of Word, and have you used the tool called Dictate? And Dictate allows you to be able to download sorry, not download, it allows you to speak verbally. So if I use dictate now, click on, Graham holds the position of program leader with Compass. He will help and guide and support students through the level 7 MSc qualification. Okay, and you'll see there that that section there has been, as a result of me dictating, it's then put into the Word format that can help people. Now, people who are talkers, and it helps them to frame it and get all the words down relatively quickly. It also helps in terms of if you are not really a word processor or good at typing or speedy at typing, it gives you that opportunity to put it down that way as well. I have a different approach. I like to write it out or type it out, and it gives me that thinking time as such. So when I get to that, if I have dictated, I'll just go level 7 MSc, and I'll change that error, shall we say. But I'll be reading through it and then say, is there anything else that I want to say? Do I need to change it? If I'm doing an academic document, I'll be saying, have I got any useful references that I want to put into that section, and so on and so forth. So bear that in mind, there are other ways that you may not have tried before, but if you've got the latest version of Microsoft and Word itself, it has that tool within it. Okay, so as I have your email addresses, what I'm going to do now is send that out to you. I'll just take out the bits and pieces. Should we say? Oh no, I've got a blank document anyway, so I'll use the blank version. Okay, so I need 10 minutes, shall we say, if we can have a natural break, for me to be able to download information to you. However, starting from, let's say, 11:30, if we can, I'm going to keep Zoom open for the rest of the day. And what I want you to do is to drop off and then come back in at the acquired time that best suits you. Now, I'm not going to tell you what you're going to do. I would rather you say, well, a good time for me, Graham, would be 1 o'clock. So if it best suits you, I'm here all afternoon. So, and there's 5 of us to get through. If I could, what I'm going to do is allow 45 minutes, but typically it's going to take us 30 minutes to do. Yeah, so we'll be doing that initial assessments. Does anybody have any preference? They want to get it over and done with at, say, 11:30, and we'll program them in first. And then over and above that, everybody else can program in afterwards in that. So I'll start with the first one at 11:30, which will take us up to 12:15. The second one will be 12:15 to 1 p.m. Then I'm going to have a break for lunch, 1:30. The next one will be until 2:15. From 2:15 to 3 o'clock. And then from 3 o'clock to 3:45. So that's all 5 of you should be covered in that time period. So does anybody have a preference? 11:30, 12:15, 1:30, 2:15, and 3 o'clock.
I'm happy to do 11:30, Graham.
You want that? Yeah. Okay. So thanks for that, April. I've got April in at 11:30.
I'm good to do the one after that.
The one after that, thanks, Maron. So that's 12:15 for Maron.
Yeah.
Till 1 o'clock.
Go next. Yep.
Tim, you doing the 1:30?
Yep.
1:30 through to 2:15.
Yeah.
So
And I can do
Alison.
one after.
Alison, 2:15
Thank you.
to 3 p.m. Mina, are you
I
okay?
can do the one. Yes.
Are we saving the best to last? Maybe. You
Yes.
know. Thanks, Mina. Okay, so that's how it's planned now. So all I want you to do now is give me a good 10 minutes or so to be able to send you that information. As I say, I'm going to leave Zoom open all afternoon. It'll just mean that I'll try and get through everything as I can in that 45-minute slots. So if you can end your Zoom now and then come back in again at the appropriate time. So April comes back in at just before 11:30. Maron comes in at 12:15. Tim comes in at 1:30. Alison at 2:15, and then Mina at 3 o'clock. After 3:45, I'm not expecting you to come back, but if I allow 3:45 to 4 p.m. to be our any questions, any other business. Yeah, so if anybody didn't get a chance to cover anything or you've got any concerns, perhaps you can bring it up at 3:45 to 4 p.m. And then what I'll do is I'll close at 4 p.m. And if there's anything I've not been able to email you, I'll use the time between 4 and 5 to send out the emails of all the documentation. So that's my plan. I hope you're okay with that. Just before we disappear, I ask you to end your Zoom. If there are any problems getting back in, just email me. And what I'll do is respond to the email because I'll have that open as well. And perhaps what I'll have to do is stop the Zoom recording, give you another invite, and make sure that we've got another meeting programmed such. But I've done this before and it's usually worked. Literally, people can leave and then they come back in later on, and I'll just admit you when it comes on. So that's my plan. So before we stop, and I'm sending out emails, anybody got any questions that you want to raise?
No, thank you.
Okay, good. Right, speak to you very soon. Take care.
Bye.
Right.